Okay, I think we've got something new here. Revelation chapter 14. We want to identify the three angels in this chapter. I have a theory here that this is the Apostle Paul, the Apostle Peter, and the Apostle John. And there's a couple of bonus discussions today. First of all, was Babylon in Revelation first century Jerusalem, or was it Rome? And secondly, did John see himself twice in the book of Revelation? So again, we'll look at the identity of these angels here. Just as some background here, I always used to dismiss the idea that Paul was the angel that preached the gospel in Revelation 14:6. I've heard many people say, and I just said, there's no reason to personalize that. Let's just say the gospel is being preached. But for some reason today, I heard Revelation 14 and it just clicked for me. There's no other way to say it. Additionally, if we can identify Paul as the first angel, why can't we also identify the other two angels in Revelation 14? So that's what we're going to try to do right here real quickly today. So here in Revelation 14, we have the proclamation of the three angels. The first angel, again, we are going to check out the theory that this could be the Apostle Paul. So here it is, starting in verse 6. Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and the springs of water. So why is this Paul? Plenty of reasons just on the surface to look at that. You've got an angel preaching to every nation, tribe, and tongue. And we know that Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles, but we can take just one verse here from the book of Acts, chapter 14, verse 15, when Paul is preaching in Lystra. He says, men, why are you doing these things? We also are men with the same nature as you, and preach to you that you should turn from these useless things to the living God who made the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all things that are in them. That is almost word for word what we have in Revelation 14 there. So I think that's a good case. We just plant a seed for Paul there. Now the second angel, I'm going to go with the theory that this is the Apostle Peter. So why do we do that? Let's first read verse 8 in Revelation 14. It says, another angel followed, so he's following Paul, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she had made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So the question is, why is this Peter? Well, Peter also has something to do with Babylon. There's a little hyperlink we can make between this angel here and what Peter says. When Peter closes out his first letter, he says, she who is in Babylon, elect together with you, greets you, and so does Mark, my son. So there's your hyperlink with Peter and Babylon. We're going to say more about that at the end of this video here. Now, our third and final angel, I'm going to just plant a seed here that possibly this is the Apostle John. Let's see what the text says, starting in verse 9 in Revelation, verse 14. It says, then a third angel followed them. So following Paul and Peter, we've got John saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself also shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. So the question, why is this John? So no one ever spoke of the mark of the beast until John wrote the book of Revelation. That's why I'm sticking with John. It seems a simple way to go. And a note here, I do realize that this would mean that John is writing about himself here in the book of Revelation, and there will be more on that later. So keep that in mind. So very important to our study here and to some other discussions here. There's a meeting that took place in Galatians chapter 2 regarding Paul's apostleship and Peter and John's apostleship. And this meeting helps to reinforce the theory that we've just presented here. And it also leads into a bonus discussion as to, what or where was Babylon in the first century? Was it Jerusalem or was it Rome? We're going to read these three verses out of Galatians 2. This is a meeting that took place in Jerusalem. It says, but on the contrary, when they saw that the gospel for the uncircumcised had been committed to me, and again, this is Paul talking, as the gospel for the circumcised was to Peter, for he who worked effectively in Peter, the apostleship to the circumcised, also worked effectively in me toward the Gentiles. And when James, Cephas, who again is Peter, and John, the Apostle John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that had been given to me. They gave me and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship, that we should go to the Gentiles and they to the circumcised. So again, you got Paul going to the Gentiles, so he's going to all the nations, and you've got Peter and James and John were to go to the circumcised, or to just remain in Jerusalem and possibly preach to the circumcised, to the Jews. So in summary, Paul and Barnabas preach to the Gentiles, Peter, James, and John preach to the Jews. This is the way the Holy Spirit would have it. I don't think these guys would want to change that plan. So a question comes up: if Peter was to preach to the Jews, what would he be doing in Rome? Again, we're going back to this Babylon, Jerusalem, Rome thing here. Additionally, if Babylon made all the Gentile nations drunk, this is going back to what the second angel said. It said Babylon had made all the nations drunk with the wine of wrath of fornication, then how could Babylon also be a Gentile nation? I realize you could interpret it that way, but the most logical thing is that if those Gentile nations, all the nations, are non-Jewish, that Babylon was making drunk with her fornication, then you have to assume that Babylon was not a Gentile nation or not a Gentile city, meaning that Babylon would be Jerusalem. And just a recommendation here, I have other videos on this channel. You can just do a search that Babylon was first century Jerusalem, and it's not my argument. I point to another book that really lays that out clearly. I know most preterists believe that Babylon is Jerusalem, but there's some of you out there who still don't, which kind of boggles my mind. But again, if you want to check that out, check out that video. Just do a search on the channel. And the bonus number 2, did John see himself twice in the book of Revelation? On this channel, I've made a video playlist that makes a argument, I believe a strong argument, that Peter and John were the 2 witnesses. So that would mean that as John's writing Revelation, he sees himself once in the book as one of the 2 witnesses. And then again here in Revelation 14, if our theory is true that he's the 3rd angel, then he also sees himself as one of the 3 angels. Yes, it's strange that he might see himself or write about himself twice in the book, once as the witness and once as an angel. I mean, it's strange, but Revelation is a strange book as well, and just a blessing to read and study these things. So in closing, I just encourage you to test all things. Read Revelation 14 with these things in mind, and just ask yourself, is this Peter, Paul, and John? Does this theory about the 3 angels make sense? Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Again, this is kind of new for me, but I feel like it just kind of hit me. I hope it was spirit-led today. So let me know if you have any questions or comments or suggestions. And as always, until next time, contend earnestly for the faith which was once for all delivered to the saints, and God bless.